So we are officially at the All-Star break. All-Star weekend is over. We have 2 full days off from the association. One game, a rescheduled game between the Lakers and I believe the Hornets coming our way on Wednesday night. A makeup game, of course, from the devastating wildfires earlier in January in Los Angeles. And then everybody gets back into action Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. So full 2 days off at the All-Star break. Let's talk that playoff positioning and postseason picture around the association. Western Conference play-in tournament. DRS, the records of teams trying to battle for a play-in spot out west, a lot better than those we will compare them to in the Eastern Conference on the other side of the break. But here's where it stands right now. A reminder, play-in tournament. Spots 7 through 10 in those Western Conference standings. The T-Wolves, the Mavs, the Kings, and the Warriors. Right now at the All-Star break, Golden State and Sacramento, those Northern California rivals, same exact record, 28 and 27. Both teams a game and a half in front of Phoenix. The Suns trying to battle for that 10th and last spot into the Western Conference play-in tournament. The T-Wolves and the Mavericks separated by just a game. Dallas a game and a half in front of either the Kings or the Dubs for that distinction. And again, the format, 7 plays 8, 9 plays 10. The winner of 7-8, they're in as the 7 seed. The loser of that game plays the winner of the 9-10 matchup. Whoever wins that one will be the 8th and final team in the true Western Conference postseason. Donnie, you see the records, you see the odds. Play-in odds on the right, play-off odds on the left. How do you make sense of it?
I'll tell you what is interesting. We're going to get to the Eastern Conference in just a moment. The Western Conference, though, even though there's a runaway up top, let's just say with OKC, an 8-game lead over the second-place team right now, currently would be the Memphis Grizzlies. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, that is intriguing stuff. Because if you hit that cutoff, the Clippers, we figure they're going to be in, but they're only one game out of falling back into the playoff spot. The Timberwolves have a lot of talent on the basketball team. The Dallas Mavericks, if they get AD back sooner than later, still a formidable opponent to make the playoffs, at least the play-in round. The Kings have a lot of talent, and then there's the veteran-laden Golden State Warriors, and just off the cuff, we take a look at the Phoenix Suns and also the San Antonio Spurs. So we're going to have a fun ride between, let's just say, 7 and that 12 spot the rest of the way we go. But if you're saying, Donnie, who can make it in here? Who's a lock? Obviously, looking at some of those playoff pricing with the T-Wolves, the expectations coming into the season, even though they traded Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, still extremely high. I do think they get in, so they benefit from that minus 550 price point. But for me, the Dallas Mavericks, I don't know when AD is coming back, and also, how healthy is he going to be when he comes back? Is he just going to get injured once again? Because understand this, when they made the trade for Luka Doncic, it was Doncic that was on the injured reserve technically at that point, waiting to come back in. But Anthony Davis still battling that abdominal injury, which, again, made it worse once he got there after a monster half. But for me, I don't want to give up on the Phoenix Suns. You see the price points there, plus 410, plus 130. Like, I understand how bad they are, but you're just looking for flyers at the price points. As we like to say, Ben, as handicappers, it's not plus 100 for everybody getting to the playoffs. But that number here, if they can get it together with that talent, why can't they beat the Kings, Mavericks, T-Wolves, or let's just say Golden State Warriors enough to get into that top 10 and then win a game or two once they're there on full rest if they're healthy with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Booker? Like, so when I look at that, I still can't quit the Phoenix Suns when I see those price points.
And I think plus 130, frankly, would be a better bet because, Donnie, they're a game and a half behind Sacramento and Golden State for a play-in spot. One of the difficult things is if you fall in the 9-10 range, you've got to win 2 games to be a playoff team, and those aren't going to be exactly slouches that you are playing if it is the T-Wolves or the Mavericks. Part of the numbers also bake in the opportunity. You see Minnesota's price at minus 550. Minus 550 to be a playoff team, and yet just minus 120 to be a play-in tournament team. One of the reasons is the T-Wolves only trail the Clippers right now by a game for just being the 6th seed in the Western Conference, not having to worry about the play-in tournament and just being a playoff team from the very start. The odds not as optimistic, though, DRS, for Dallas. The strongest price to be a play-in tournament team, to stay in the range of 7 through 10. But once they're there, to win a game, maybe having to win 2, plus 118 to see the actual postseason, that strikes my curiosity. To me, that's a number that says Not, oh, Anthony Davis is there. The Mavericks lost the trade with Luka Doncic. They're still not a very good team. That's, to me, saying without Anthony Davis in the interim, can the Mavericks stay in the 7 to 8 spot? And if they get Anthony Davis back, are they going to be a team that you favor to win a play-in tournament game? That's a very intriguing distinction. Heavily favored to be a play-in tournament team, but not necessarily looked at as optimistically to win a game, maybe two, in the play-in tournament to see the actual playoffs.
Yeah, and hanging in that spot, too, because who's to say, let's just say Anthony Davis comes back sooner than later and they're a decent basketball team. Why can't they move up and take the actual 6th spot and not even fall in to that wild card stage that we have between 7 and 10? But also understanding this as well, it could go the opposite direction. Anthony Davis doesn't heal, and it's not like you have a lot of room to wiggle. You're a game and a half back from both Sacramento and Golden State from falling to the 9 and 10, and then you have the 3-game lead over the Phoenix Suns at this point, which is so fun to talk about, that sort of sprint after the All-Star break. It's going to matter who's healthy and who's not. So until we get that definitive answer on Anthony Davis when he's back and ready, let's just say Benny misses one more week of play, which would be 2 more games, and they split those and go 1-1 and he's back. You're now sitting in the driver's seat at that point here, figuring that if he is healthy the rest of the way, how good a player and how dominant he can be. Because it's not as if he came over like, hey, man, that first half, he had 2 points, 2 rebounds, 5 fouls, and then got injured early in the second half. No, he was going to put on a show as one of the best games we've seen all season long in an NBA uniform, is how charged up he was to be the focal point of that offense on the Mavericks. So I could see the love for the Mavericks at this point, because if they do get some health benefits, it's still a quality team around Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis.
The adductor strain, again, in his debut in Dallas. They estimated it around a few weeks, maybe closer to a month. We have been just over a week from last Saturday in his debut with the Mavs, where the Clippers stand in the 6th spot, and the Suns at the 11th spot. Those 6 teams separated by just 5 games. It might not seem like a ton, but again, we don't have a full second half. There's about 25, 26, 27 games remaining for most teams around the NBA. To the Eastern Conference next. So we started in the Western Conference. Now the play-in tournament examination out east during the All-Star break here around the association. Donnie, unlike the Western Conference, where all 4 teams currently, 7 through 10, have a winning record in the play-in tournament positions, in the Eastern Conference, all 4 teams, 7 through 10, are at least 2 games sub 500 or worse. The Magic, the Hawks, the Heat, and the Bulls. And there's some pretty large distinctions between these 4 teams. Just a half game separates the Magic and the Hawks in the 7-8 split. The Heat and the Hawks, same overall 3 games below 500, different amount of games played, so they're good there. The Bulls are back by 4 games of both the Magic and or the Hawks and the Heat, rather, in terms of making up that 10th and final spot. And notice the Philadelphia 76ers, who entered the season with the 3rd best price to win the Eastern Conference, a game and a half out of the play-in tournament. And it should be noted, you will see the Detroit Pistons in the 6th spot in the Eastern Conference, 3 games above 500. That's a 2.5 game advantage for Detroit in front of Orlando. Donnie, as you look at those numbers for the Eastern Conference play-in tournament and the teams battling for those spots at the moment, what stands out most?
A lot of junk. It really is a lot of junk in there. Magic, decent ball club, under 500. Atlanta, decent ball club, under. The list goes on and on. We just talked about how that Western Conference, where you're looking at, hey, you know, if this team can make a play, they got superstar players. We're not finding that here. But the most interesting one, probably by far, is a team just on the cut line, the Philadelphia 76ers in the 11th spot, because you see the record. 20 and 34, disastrous here. Have they messed around with a lot of injuries in the first half? Yes, they have. But also understand this. Recognize what your season has actually become. If you tell me right now, for the remaining parts of the season, Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, other than load management games, will be healthy and available on a night-to-night basis, there's no reason to believe that they won't wind up at least in the play-in round anywhere between 7 to 10. But when you look at that price point where it's minus 270 to play, like, yeah, they just need to win a few games and they'll get in there. They're talented enough to do that. But when there's the time that Daryl Morey says, you know what, this season is lost. We're expected to look longer term here. Didn't work this year with Paul George. Maybe he was banged up a little bit too much. A full offseason being in the city will help him. And Joel Embiid to get a full knee surgery where he can come back completely healthy by training camp. No Olympics in the summer, no extra wear and tear. And no, Joel Embiid needs knee surgery. We're going to wait until hopefully get into the play-in round and get knocked out quickly. Because if they don't make that decision, if he's healthy enough, reason to believe they could make it into the playoffs because they can win a play-in game or maybe two against the Magic, Hawk, Heat, or Bulls. We're not talking about the Bucks fully gassed up with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who they'd have to knock out before they got to the playoffs here. So that does make sense, but it's just too much of the unknown because what have the Sixers shown us this year, Ben? They're a bad basketball team with or without Joel Embiid, hoping that he actually got rested and ready on the All-Star break to take on the second half sprint at this point. The Miami Heat, somewhat talented, the Hawks, there's not a lot to love. So I would just be hunting probably, Ben, the best price points and just let them sit where they fall.
And I think the best price point, weirdly enough, is the Sixers at plus 265 to be a playoff team. Donnie, you're right. If the Sixers lose a few more games immediately out of the All-Star break and say, you know what, doesn't matter. We're not even going to go for the 10th spot because who cares? If we win 2 games in the play-in tournament to be the 8th seed in the playoffs and get our hands or our butts stomped by the Cleveland Cavaliers come the postseason. Would it be a quitter mentality? Perhaps. But it's just the reality of where things are right now in the NBA. And we're putting a lot of belief in a Philly team that you have no idea who is showing up night in, night out. And even when they do, what is the level of their performance, even if every guy is healthy and in the active roster? They are 20-34, the 76ers. They are 14 games below 500. And yet, because of how bad some of those play-in tournament teams are out east, they're only a game and a half out. And you see them minus 270 to be a play-in tourney team, expected to factor in, but plus 265 to be a playoff team. I would take the Sixers, and I guarantee you Philadelphia would be a favorite against any of those teams in a play-in tournament game, at least by a couple of points, I would say, on the spread if at full strength. So to me, there is some value. By the way, the NBA officially adopted the play-in tournament starting the 2022-23 season. The Atlanta Hawks are going to be a play-in tournament team, more than likely, in all 3 of those years, and they've really done it for the last 4 years as well. Very comfortable in those spots, as are the Heat and the Bulls. We'll see how it all plays out. Not exactly the prettiest picture when you stare at those play-in tournament teams and the associated records.